12 scariest flash floods around the world. While Mother Nature can undoubtedly be breathtaking, sometimes that's not the case at all. Sometimes she may seem agitated. Here we got for you some of the scariest flash floods, real footage which might give you goosebumps. Watch as the floodwaters rise, buildings collapse, and people are ordered to evacuate the area in a matter of moments. You won't want to miss out on watching this video under any circumstances. Do you agree that the water here appears to be raging and potentially lethal? We are all well aware that water is a particularly potent constituent. When a river is experiencing a flood stage, the water moving through it is moving at a rate that is noticeably faster than normal, but it is still. It is difficult to imagine the force of water until one has actually experienced it for themselves. Until then, it is difficult to imagine. The force that water exerts can be seen clearly in this footage as well. Can you hear the roar of the water? The flood was brought on by several days' worth of rain that was of a particularly heavy nature. Because of this, rivers and streams overflowed, which resulted in flash floods that were responsible for a great deal of damage. The excessive amount of rainfall was the cause of the flood. The water caused by the flood was extremely ferocious and powerful. This flood uprooted the trees and plants, which is ultimately what caused the destruction of the forest and the transformation of the land into a desert. This was the cause of the devastation. If the water is powerful enough to uproot trees and carry them away, then flooding can in fact cause significant damage to forests. This is especially true if the trees are carried away by the water. The act of stealing is one of the primary contributors to this kind of destruction. In some instances, flooding is responsible for the deposit of sediment and debris, both of which have the potential to suffocate plant roots and inhibit the establishment of new growth. Floods can cause damage to ecosystems that are so severe that it may take the forest a significant amount of time, if it ever recovers at all, to return to the condition it was in before the flood. Floods in forests can be very unfortunate and destructive, as they may upset the delicate balance of the environment and often lead to the destruction of habitat and animal populations. The waves seem to have a mind of their own, destroying whatever was in their way without any pattern. This was because the waves hit with such a huge amount of force. Heavy rainfall in the region led to the rivers in the vicinity overflowing the banks, which in turn led to flash floods that washed away everything. The flood waters would quickly deteriorate the surface of the road, carrying away debris and causing the road to collapse in portions as a result. Because of the damage to the road, it would be difficult for vehicles to pass, which would impede access to the impacted communities and disrupt transportation as well as other essential services. This monstrous flood tore across the city and obliterated the luxurious hotel that stood in its way. While onlookers stared in horror, hotel guests scampered to safety while others gaped in shock as the once opulent establishment vanished beneath the waves. The roaring of the raging river could be heard throughout the entire city, serving as a constant reminder of the destructive potential of Mother Nature. The majestic hotel was destroyed, and its history will forever serve as a reminder of the destructive potential of floods. This is just shocking. While the houses, which normally appear solid and planted, give the sensation of being weightless and delicate as it sways with the current. When the house was being swept downstream by the flood, it collided with various pieces of debris at other buildings. Major disruptions occurred as a result, and the water flow became even more disorganized. Cars, trees, animals, and people were all carried along like feathers by the mighty river as the flood waters continued to rise. Everything that the flood could pick up kept getting swept away. If a flood of that magnitude were to occur, it would cause widespread destruction, and the road to recovery would be long and difficult. It was just another day in Willow Creek, a little village in the midst of the valley. The sun shone brightly, birds chirped, and people went about their usual activities. They had no idea that a calamity was looming just outside their town. A massive flood was making its way downstream, unbeknownst to the people. The water rushed across everything in its path at breakneck speed. The water's power was so great that it uprooted trees and carried them along with it. Chaos erupted as the river went beneath the bridge and into town. The water washed through the streets, bringing automobiles and debris with it. The once peaceful community was turned into a spectacle of devastation and disaster. The flood's aftermath was terrible. Houses were burned, people were killed, and the town was decimated. When an abnormally high amount of precipitation falls in a relatively short amount of time, it can overwhelm the natural drainage systems in a city or of a town. This can cause water to quickly build, which can then flood low-lying areas. Under the circumstances, the entire city was going to be submerged in water. The devastation that can be caused by flash floods cannot be overstated. It is likely that individuals will be unable to leave affected locations as the water levels continue to rise. This could happen very fast. There is a possibility that roads and bridges will become inaccessible, resulting in people being stranded in their homes or vehicles. People may be left without a place to take shelter after buildings and homes are possibly damaged or destroyed. A vast number of trees would be uprooted and displaced as the flood waters rose, leaving behind a landscape that is both cluttered with debris and unrecognizable from before. When the water rises, it will soak the soil beneath the trees, causing them to topple over. The trees will then be washed away by the current. Large amounts of debris, such as trees, branches, and other plant materials, would be carried downstream by the raging waters, creating a damaging and disorderly current. The water took away the road. This is just crazy. Indeed, floods are one of nature's most powerfully destructive forces, and they are capable of wreaking havoc on both property and infrastructure on an extensive scale. As a result of the road being devastated by the flood, transportation has been impeded, and it has become more challenging for people to have access to vital resources and services. In the event that a flood destroyed the entire road, which people used to travel on frequently, the repercussions for the town that was impacted can be significant. People might not be able to get to their places of employment, schools, hospitals, or grocery stores if they do not have access to a dependable road network. The house is actually moving with the flow of the water, and it is clashing with other debris and structures that were in the flood, which will result in serious damage. Everything in the path of the flood would be in danger of being carried away, since the force of the water would be sufficient to make it impossible to withstand it. The deluge would keep moving forward and consuming everything in its path, including automobiles, trees, animals, and even people. The force of the water alone would be sufficient to topple trees, bring down buildings, and wreak widespread havoc and anarchy. Those who were trapped in the flood would be in a potentially deadly predicament as a result. The water would be too powerful to swim against, and even those people who were able to seek refuge in higher ground would certainly face a protracted and challenging road to recovery. The water would be too strong to swim against. We hope you enjoyed seeing how powerful nature is, and that you have a better understanding of the forces that shape our world. If you like this video, please click like, and think about subscribing to our channel so you can see more great stuff like this. And don't forget to click the bell so you'll always know when there's a new upload. Stay safe and keep exploring until we talk again.